الحضور الكريم، نرحب الآن بمقدم الحفل السيد محمد الطميحي.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Mohammed Al-Tumehi.
صباح الخير. السيدات والسادة، أهلا بكم في اليوم الثالث وللأسف الأخير من منتدى التنافسية الدولي 2016. يوم أمس كان حافلاً بالنقاشات، فبدأه ستيفن ساكور بجلسة نقاشية أشبه ما تكون ببرنامجه الشهير على شاشة BBC هارد توك. كان لدينا أيضاً حضور لافت للرئيسة التنفيذية لشركة لوكهيد مارتن ورئيسة مجلس الإدارة والرئيسة التنفيذية لبيبسيكو، وكان أيضاً هناك جلسة استثنائية ونسائية بامتياز تناولت بتفاؤل دور المرأة السعودية في مستقبل عالم الأعمال في المملكة، وغير ذلك من الجلسات وورش العمل والكلمات الرئيسية. على المستوى الشخصي كان حضور البروفيسورة السعودية غادة المطيري مصدر إلهام ومعرفة، فنحن نتحدث هنا عن عالمة وباحثة ومخترعة دولية بامتياز. سأكون أكثر صراحة، كانت تتحدث عن أشياء لا أعرفها وغيري كثير في هذه القاعة، وعلى الرغم من ذلك عندما كانت تتحدث في المسرح وكأنها أمام طلابها في محاضرة علمية تسأل أسئلة كثيرة جدا لتتفاعل مع الحضور. فكانت تسأل: هل تعرفون تقنية النانو؟ فنبادر نحن ونرفع أيدينا، مع أن معظمنا ربما لا يعرف هذه التقنية. على ما أذكر كان هناك سؤال صعب: هل أنتم على علم بآخر ابتكار قادم من مراكز البحوث في كوكب المريخ؟ أنا شخصياً بادرت ورفعت يدي، مع أني متأكد أنه إلى الآن على حد علمي ما في مراكز بحثية في كوكب المريخ، ربما في المستقبل. وأنا الآن سأستخدم نفس التقنية. هل استمتعتم بجلسات يوم أمس؟ هل أنتم مستعدون لجلسات اليوم؟ فلنبدأ على بركة الله.
حضورنا الكريم، نرحب الآن برئيس جامعة جونز هوبكنز البروفيسور رونالد داينلز.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Johns Hopkins University, Professor Ronald Daniels.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here in such great company for the Global Competitiveness Forum and grateful to our conference host for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. I know that the focus of this conference is by definition global in nature, but allow me to make the global local for a moment, and I want to start in Johns Hopkins' hometown of Baltimore. I'd like to take you on a quick tour of a factory building there called the Tendenko Factory. This former warehouse space was opened in 1914 and was home to the Tin Decorating Company. It was at one time the largest plant of its kind in the world, producing millions of tin containers a day and employing thousands of skilled workers. And the company was not alone in its manufacturing success. Along with such American manufacturers as Bethlehem Steel, General Motors, and Westinghouse, it helped secure Baltimore's status as a leading manufacturing hub with a peak population of about 1 million people. Unfortunately, starting in the 1950s, Baltimore began to decline. International competition caused our leading manufacturers to shutter their factories, and we experienced wrenching job losses. The city lost more than 300,000 residents. And in the wake of this industrial decline, our population, particularly African American citizens, saw marked reductions in the quality of life, level of education, and social stability. Today, Baltimore is a city with many strengths, including its leading universities, health systems, and private firms. Johns Hopkins University and Health System employ more than 35,000 people in Baltimore. We are the largest private employer in the state and, of course, in the city. And we are joined by other great firms such as fund giant T. Rowe Price and sports apparel manufacturer Under Armour. But as the world saw so vividly this past spring during the unrest following the death of Freddie Gray, we have not yet restored the prosperity and social stability that our city enjoyed more than half a century ago. And so the question that I'm preoccupied with is, how do we create a diverse economy in which each of our city's residents can enjoy the fruits of the 21st century economy: jobs, health, education, and social stability? And what role can a university and health system like ours play in the city's revival? It's against this backdrop that I recently visited a dramatically transformed Tindeco factory. Its vast manufacturing spaces are now the headquarters of Personal Genomes Diagnostics, or PGDX. The company is the brainchild of two extraordinary Hopkins physicians, Victor Velculescu and Louis Diaz. Based on research done at Johns Hopkins, the company has created new non-invasive techniques, including blood test-based biopsies that can detect and diagnose cancer tumors at very early stages, well before they can be seen through conventional imaging techniques. These physician scientists are, simply put, leading us into a new era in cancer medicine, revolutionizing how we diagnose, monitor, and treat cancer. Now, PGDX is one of a growing group of Hopkins-related startups that have decided to stay in Baltimore. Now with 63 employees, they're recruiting students from Hopkins and other great national universities, bringing to our city the best and brightest that big data science has to offer. Fresh off of raising $21 million in venture capital funding, they are committed to the city of Baltimore. And for a city like ours, and indeed for a country like Saudi Arabia, both looking to promote innovation industry, decisions like this, creation of startups like PGDX, reinforce the sense that our hopes for the city and its innovation economy are not a fanciful aspiration. Now, what I'd like to do today is to talk about the components of a fertile innovation system, focusing particularly on the role of the research university within that mix. In thinking about the prospects of building such innovation ecosystem, it is clear that place matters. Economist Enrico Moretti argues for the role of cities as critical sites for innovation. This is because of the benefits from densely concentrated clusters of innovation activity. In fact, and this is really a staggering statistic, Moretti describes how for every one job in the knowledge economy, 5 are created in the geographic area, not just in innovation industries, but in other less technically advanced fields in the service industry. Further, these clusters are tied closely to strong research universities. Take the United States: MIT, Harvard, and Cambridge, Stanford, Berkeley, UCS in the Bay Area. In fact, it has been claimed that close to 80% of new industries in the United States emerge from technologies developed in American research universities. And this is not just about the work of faculty members. The students are often the critical catalyst for innovation. Sergey Brin and Larry Page were graduate students when the idea behind Google began to take shape. Mark Zuckerberg may not have graduated from Harvard, but the idea for Facebook was launched when he was there. Yet the reality is that a robust innovation ecosystem does not simply follow from the presence of a great research university. We wish it were as easy as start a great university, and next thing you know, you're in a driverless car heading to Google's sprawling campus, but sadly, it's just not that simple. And I know that very directly from my own experience as president of Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins is widely recognized as America's first research university. Today, it has several internationally distinguished schools and programs in medicine, nursing, public health, international studies, and biomedical engineering, to name a few. Its hospital has long been recognized as the best in the country. And we indeed have a large international footprint. In fact, one of our most important international ventures involves an innovative and ambitious collaboration with Aramco, in which we are honored to be co-managing the healthcare of approximately 360,000 employees. And for this discussion, perhaps most significantly, for each of the last 35 years, Johns Hopkins has been the largest recipient of competitive research funding allocated by the federal government. But for all of these strengths, we have ranked behind many of our American peers in our translation of our research activities into licensing and marketable technologies. We're just, historically, we have not been good at this. A lost opportunity not only for us, but for our broader societal impact, and of course, for the city that we call home. Today, we are seeking to change this situation, and we are acutely aware of the lessons of other cities in and outside the United States that are ahead of us in creating a robust innovation ecosystem. Specifically, we see 4 key ingredients of a successful innovation cluster, and let me address each in turn. First, the research university. I've already noted the intimate association between research universities and innovation clusters. But why is this so? Simply, successful innovation is fueled by the kinds of cutting-edge research that are the lifeblood of any great university. Through rigorous scholarship and investigation, new approaches to everyday problems, everyday phenomena can be identified. And it seems that applied research is where the most visible contributions to the innovative industry are made. Yet it's my view that universities having the greatest impact on innovation give equal pride of place to basic, curiosity-driven research that is not directed at any particular translation opportunity. Now, this may seem paradoxical, but the truly inspired applied researchers are typically those who engage in basic research as well and who will want to work in an environment that values, that celebrates this activity. Indeed, it turns out that many of the discoveries that have had the greatest effect on industrial innovation were spawned by insights that were actually drawn from basic research, from GPS and lasers to antibiotics and magnetic resonance imaging technology. At the same time, it is clear that a university must be a place that supports and nurtures the entrepreneurial spirit of faculty, students, and staff. And this requires very deliberate effort. It requires the right kind of incentives, the right policies, the right space and resources to cultivate this activity. It just doesn't arise by accident. And even more than that, it requires an outward gaze. The entire university working together to develop partnerships with existing companies and to engage other public and private stakeholders outside the university who are key to the development of new companies. Now, this is something that we've paid very close attention to at Hopkins over the recent years. In fact, in recent years, we have launched what we now call Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures, a one-stop shop for entrepreneurship and innovation across our institution. And under the leadership of a serial entrepreneur with a proven track record, Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures has launched on-campus specialized facilities designed to incubate startups that have emerged from Hopkins and indeed from across the city. They have created a mentors in residence program and have raised seed funding for translational work. And we're also supporting our students in this arena in and outside of the classroom. And it's clear that these efforts are starting to have effect. The students are responding to this shift in culture. Fully 25% of our undergraduate students are now studying entrepreneurship in some form. Indeed, this percentage is even higher for our engineering students. Recently, with alumni backing, a group of enterprising undergrads are continuing to develop a wearable diagnostic device that could win them the $10 million Qualcomm Tricorder X Prize. And in a weekend-long design competition, our graduate students helped create a new protective suit for workers fighting Ebola that is now being mass-produced. This is all to say that the university must play a deliberate role in implanting and sustaining the entrepreneurial mindset in its community. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, dynamic universities that successfully anchor innovation clusters must embrace the value of academic freedom, the ability to ask hard questions, to challenge existing orthodoxies, to be a place where independent and high-risk, high-reward experimentation can truly take root. They further allow and create opportunity for interdisciplinary contact and commingling. Now, beyond the university, let's briefly take a look at the other elements that make for a robust innovation ecosystem. The second ingredient that I want to emphasize is a strong national commitment to high and sustained levels of public funding for university-based research. It has long been recognized that the genius, if I can call it that, of the American system of innovation derives from the role played by the federal government in funding research to the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Health and other agencies. The US government spends well over $130 billion a year on research and development, and this amounts to between 0.75 and 1% of the country's GDP. The National Institutes of Health, the principal agency responsible for biomedical and health-related research alone, has an annual budget in excess of $30 billion. And this is the pot of funding that has been critical for the growth and prosperity of our university. Most of this funding is awarded through competitive grants to individuals at research universities and other research institutes. However, it's not just the quantum of public research investment that matters, but the way in which that funding is dispersed. Instead of being locked into static, long-term investments to universities that may not reflect the quality of the institution, its actual performance, the NIH and NSF allocate most of their funds competitively and on a time-limited basis to the most deserving people and projects. That way, people and ideas can leave institutions that are not supporting their success. Further, this merit-driven mode of allocation avoids the political favoritism, misallocated resources, and bureaucratic rigidity that is at odds with the ferment of scientific innovation. Now, the third ingredient in the mix is a legal and cultural framework in which research universities operate. In the absence of credible and strong intellectual property protections, individuals and institutions will decline to invest in the creation of this property. In 1980, the Bayh-Dole Act revolutionized the American industrial innovation, and that legislation provided for clear university ownership of inventions that were supported with federal research funding. And previously, the federal government retained title to these inventions, and private firms could not exploit the research without endless and protracted negotiations with the federal bureaucracy. But it's more than just the ownership of intellectual property. As Stanford sociologist Woody Powell and his colleagues have observed, you also need to create the conditions, legal and cultural, that allow for the circulation of that intellectual property, indeed the circulation of people and mindsets across institutions and sectors in the innovation ecosystem. As a final ingredient, successful innovation centers are marked by their capacity to attract the diverse people and organizations that make translation easier. The venture capitalists, specialized lawyers, marketing and management consultants, seasoned and senior entrepreneurs, and others, including nonprofit and state funders that help guide ideas from the lab bench to the market. And there's little doubt in a world in which these individuals, these great creative entrepreneurs, face a dizzying, virtually unlimited array of opportunities to apply their craft, policymakers need to worry about the quality of the community in which this activity takes place. Are there good schools, a vibrant arts and cultural scene, parks and other recreational facilities that can attract and retain talent in a competitive landscape? Over the last day that I've attended these sessions at this conference, I've been struck by the efforts the Kingdom is making to foster its innovative potential. Through your National Science, Technology, and Innovation Plan, you are investing extraordinary resources in new universities, science incubators, industrial parks, research funding, and other initiatives that are already yielding a dramatic improvement in research and patent activity only several years in. And I'm particularly intrigued, indeed I am in awe, of the amazing and audacious experiment that is KAUST. And it is here that our story comes full circle. Back to the halls of PGDX, that company in the old tin can factory I mentioned at the start of my remarks. As I sat with the two founding executives, I listened raptly to their hopes and plans for the future. I was moved by their commitment to doing hard work to transform this successful but small-scale service provider into a larger products-oriented company with the potential to reach literally tens of thousands of cancer patients worldwide. I was heartened by their determination to take the company from 63 employees to more than double that amount in 2 years. And I asked them, what would help them do it? What could I do? What could the city do to make this easier? And their answer spoke to the unique, multifaceted brew that bolsters a young company's success. They wanted assurances that the streets are safe for their young employees to walk home after working at their computer until past midnight. They mentioned access to quality childcare. They mentioned that they wanted to use this childcare as a recruitment tool for top executives. And they wanted great restaurants and cafes for the neighborhood surrounding their offices. In their comments, they underscored the complex interplay of quality of life factors that attract and retain talent, that make it stick to a location. Factors that are often missed by a single-minded focus on translating technologies or creating investment funds, intellectual property policies, and tax incentives, all of which are important, but they're not enough. And of course, it went unspoken that the keystone of this innovation matrix was the research university, that igniter of ideas, the place where individual promise is nurtured, but for our discussions today, the institution more than any other that can unlock the many possibilities for our citizens, our cities, nations, and global community. Thank you once again for affording me this opportunity to participate in this very important and consequential discussion.